Hello and welcome everybody. I am Mark White.
My name is Sam Smith.
And last but not least, I'm Joey Kelly.
And together we are Let's Talk About Group 6 Consulting. And today we are going to give you the future analysis of marketing and logistics majors at the greatest campus, the greatest university in the face of the earth, Central Michigan University.
Okay, so first today we're going to start off with marketing and logistics majors choices. For logistics majors, their biggest choice, their biggest driver is the starting salary. What are they going to start at? $60,000 is ideal for them. Next, we're going to talk about for marketing majors. Job type is more of importance to them. And second is the starting salary. Marketing consultant would be the number one job desired in this category. Next, we're going to go into max diff, and this is best to worst. We're going to compare us to our best competitor. And for interns, the biggest importance for them is the work atmosphere. That's the key thing, and that's the key difference that differentiates it from the bottom line, which is of no importance, which is the dress code. Next, for full-time employees, it's going to be advancement opportunity, and this makes perfect sense. If you're a full-time employee, you want to know that there's room for advancement, there's room for growth. And lastly, we're going to go into customer experience. First, with customer experience, we're going to go into the performance. This is CMU students, like the industry average, believe that supervisor relationship, firm reputation, and the cultural fit all have to be performed well. As well, for CX importance, the reputation is the most important thing. They want to know that the company they're working for is of the highest reputation and is seen in the highest light. Last but not least, with customer experience, the improvement. What needs to be improved upon? The work being meaningful is the number one improvement for marketing and logistics students. They want to know that they're doing something that is meaningful. It means something to them. So that's what we're basically going to go throughout our entire presentation. We're going to hit on choice, we're going to hit on max diff, and then we're going to hit on customer experience. Enjoy.
Alrighty, so what's on the agenda for today? The first thing that we took care of already was our introductions. You now know us as Team 6. We've been acquainted, so let's kick the rest of this presentation off. So before each set of analyses, we're going to talk about first what objectives do we have for that set of analysis. Each analysis that we do is going to have a different set of goals. And with the objectives, we're just going to briefly discuss what those objectives are and how we're going to meet them. Next, we're going to talk about the research methods. This is going to talk about the methods that we used to reach the conclusions that we found throughout our different surveys and our different sets of analysis. The next thing after that will be the results. This is where we will talk about exactly what the outcomes of each data means in terms of our research objectives. The final thing we will go over is a summary, which will just be a brief overview of what we have found throughout our research. We'll cover a brief overview of our findings and what it means moving forward.
Next, we are going to talk about sample objectives. And who is the sample? There are marketing and logistics students, and a very important question is, does the sample represent the population? Is this sample a good reflection of all marketing and logistics students? And the answer is yes, because these results are made up of 125 CMU marketing and logistics student respondents. So even though it does not reach 300, it's a very solid sample size with 125. And you guys could probably pick up the pattern with our backgrounds. First, it was the mountain with the adventurous climbing towards the peak. Second was the exit that read results. This is just a representation of students, especially upperclassmen, kind of trying to find their destination as professionals in the marketing and logistics world.
Now we're going to get into the choice objectives. So what is driving marketing and logistics majors' choices for careers or internships? What's behind that? We're going to uncover. Then, what are the most and least important attributes in making these choices? We're going to show you the top attributes and the bottom attributes. Lastly, what levels of performance are most and least valuable? What does it mean to these marketing and logistics majors? What means the most to them? What means the least to them? We're going to talk about that too.
So let's take a look at this first chart here, which basically details the different attributes of prospective logistics careers. As you can see to the far left there, the most important thing that students consider when looking at logistics careers is starting salary. The next most important thing is cultural fit, and the third most important thing is travel distance. These are organized by attribute importance scores, which is basically a metric that determines how important these attributes are when considering careers.
Now, after looking at the previous graph of importance scores for logistic majors, it's obvious. They want the money. That's their key driver. They want that money. They want that $60,000. Go get them. Next, it's all about the fit. They want to be in an environment where they feel comfortable. They don't want to be in an environment where it's hostile, they're not getting along, there's drama in the workplace. None of that crap. They want it out of there. And last but not least, what's important to them? Travel distance. Do they want to drive 2 hours from Traverse City to Mount Pleasant, Michigan to go to work? I don't know. How much do they care? We'll see.
So let's go ahead and drill down into each of these attributes one by one. The first thing that we have is the most important attribute to people, which is starting salary levels. As you can see, it makes sense that people would rather make $60,000 than $40,000. And what also makes sense is that right there in the middle, people have an average preference for a median starting salary of approximately $50,000 a year. So now let's take a look at the second most important attribute for students when considering logistics careers. This attribute is cultural fit, and as you can see, most people have a preference for a company that has a very good cultural fit than for a company that doesn't have a good cultural fit. A preference level of 65.31 indicates that students have a much stronger preference for a company that has a good cultural fit. The next thing we're going to consider is the third most important attribute when considering logistics careers, and this has to do with travel time. And as you can see, there's a much stronger preference for a lower travel time. With a preference score of 51.9, a 1-hour drive is definitely more preferable to students than, say, a 4-hour drive, or even more so, having to fly to work.
So now we're going to talk about results, and we're going to talk about all those graphs that Sam so eloquently shared with us. The first was the attribute importance scores and how all those attributes shared 100 points. And the big three, starting salary, cultural fit, and travel distance, they totaled more than 65% of the total 100. And next we have preference levels. And how preference levels work is you have 0, and that's average preference, and then you have below 0, and that's negative, and above is positive. So what Joey was talking about with salary, as you can see here, $60,000 is overwhelmingly the preference. And as you can see with this next preference level, is that cultural fit is more preferred than not caring about cultural fit. And then you saw on our next preference level graph that it is highly preferred to have a 1-hour drive time over 4-hour drive and air travel, which is in the negative preference level.
So now we're going to go ahead and drill down and take a look at the attributes for prospective marketing careers. As you can see, the most important attribute when a student is considering a career in marketing is the type of job that you're doing. The second most important thing makes sense. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, so that is number 2 on the list of important attributes for marketing careers. The third most important marketing attribute is the workplace culture. This comes in at number 3 on the list because it is not unreasonable to assume that anyone going into marketing wants a job that has a very good cultural fit in terms of their personality and their job aspirations.
Now, based on looking at the importance scores from the previous slide, you can definitely see job type is the number 1 desired thing for marketing majors. They want that marketing consultant job, or they want that market research job. They don't want the sales job or the retail job as much. And you can see that it reflects in the importance graph. Next, the money, the starting salary. What are you going to start at after you've been working your butt off at the university? Where do you want to start? Do you want to start at $40,000, $60,000? That has a huge impact on where these students are deciding to take their careers. And then, followed by that, the work culture. Are they happy? Do they fit in with the environment? That's a huge thing when deciding where you want to go work, and that's why it's ranked up there right at the top for when they're choosing their careers.
So when students are considering a career in marketing, you have several different types of jobs that are possible. You could be a marketing consultant, you could be a marketing researcher, you could be in retail, or you could be in sales. And as you can see from this graph, most students would prefer to be a market consultant. Second on the list is a market researcher, although you can see the discrepancy between the first one and the second one. There's a huge difference, and that tells us that there is a much stronger preference for a market consulting job than for a market research job. As you can also tell from the graph, there is an extremely low preference for jobs in retail and jobs in sales. As with careers in logistics, one of the most important attributes when considering careers in marketing is the starting salary levels. So as you can see here, we have 3 different levels of starting salary. And it makes sense that the higher the salary level, the higher the preference level. So when looking at this chart, you can see that the preference level of 52.18 indicates that a starting salary level of $60,000 is much more preferred than a starting salary level of $50,000 or $40,000. When we drill down into the third most important attribute of considering marketing careers, we can see that almost everybody prefers to have a career in which the cultural fit is very good. This makes sense because most people wouldn't want to work for a place where the culture is not what they're looking for. So this is good. Now we're starting to get a good big picture idea of what students consider when they start to go into the field of marketing and logistics. And now we know what is important to them and what's least important to them. And within those specific attributes, we know what levels they prefer.
Thanks for analysis, Sam. Now we're going to talk about the results that Sam just shared with us, and this time it's marketing careers with the attribute importance scores. And now that you know what attribute importance, we can just go through the results, go through the big 3, which is job type, starting salary, and culture. And just like the logistics importance scores, these share a huge chunk of the 100, which is around 64%. And then next we had preference levels, and you saw that marketing consultant took a huge chunk of the cake with 45.4, and how everybody wants to have that marketing consulting job. And then next with the preference levels, we talked about salary, and like Joe talked about with that $60,000, that is the benchmark. That is the amount that people want to achieve coming out of college, and that was 52.18. And then Joey also ascribed how important a cultural fit is, and that is 53.22 compared to the negative 53.22 on people that don't care about the cultural fit.
Now we're going to be talking about maximum difference, and we're going to be showing the importance of marketing and logistics majors from least to worst. And we're also going to be comparing full-time employees to interns. And this is a key difference here, and we're going to show the results in our graphs. Enjoy. As I previously talked about, for maximum difference, we're going to dive into the careers. We're going to dive into comparing internships versus full-time jobs and how these students are making their decisions. What attributes are most important to them? Is it the work environment, the work atmosphere? Is it the cultural fit? Is it meaningful work? We're going to dive into that, and we're going to further see through these next graphs.
So when looking at the attribute importance of internships, the number one most important thing that people consider when going into an internship or looking for an internship is the workplace atmosphere. This makes sense. I mean, as an intern, you're inexperienced. You would want an atmosphere that is conducive to learning and to workplace performance. This attribute is similar to the cultural fit attribute, which happens to be the third most important attribute when considering internships. And the second most important attribute when considering internships is the opportunity for an advancement. So when people are considering full-time employment, the number one most important attribute that they look for in a new career is the opportunity for advancement. This makes sense because, you're likely going to be there for the foreseeable future, maybe the next 5 or 10 years, and you want to be sure that there will be opportunity for you to move up on the chain. The next most important attribute when considering full-time careers is the workplace atmosphere and the cultural fit. Now, these two things are very similar, and it makes sense that they are number 2 and 3 on the list because as an adult in a full-time career, like I said, you're going to be spending a lot of time in that career, and you'll want to be in a workplace culture and in an environment that is conducive to a successful and fulfilling career. This graph shows the relative attribute importance scores of internships versus full-time positions, and as you can see, the number one attribute for full-time positions is the opportunity for advancement. And it makes sense that this attribute is significantly higher in importance when compared to internships, because you're going to be spending a lot more time in your full-time position than your internship, and you're going to want a lot of room to advance up the chain of command and make more money possibly in the future. When we look at workplace atmosphere and cultural fit, they are both very similar when looking at full-time positions and internships.
Now, after looking at the beautiful maximum difference graphs that Sam just showed us, it's clear that advancement opportunities, work atmosphere, and cultural fit rank among the top 3 for both interns and full-time employees. However, for full-time, they care about that advancement opportunities the most. They want to know that there's room for growth. They want to know that they can move up within a company. However, for interns, they want that work atmosphere. They want to go into a company feeling comfortable and feeling a part of something.
So now we're going to talk about customer experience performance objectives. And we, Group 6, we cannot stress enough how important this is. And so with all these attributes, we're going to compare it against a competitor. And the reason why we do that is because we don't have to outrun the bear. We just have to outrun the person next to us. So what that means is we have to constantly look over our shoulder to make sure we're doing something better than our competitor. We have to find that competitive advantage. And this is what this is going to show us.
This graph here compares the attribute importance scores of logistics and marketing careers combined to the attribute importance scores of an industry average for those same types of careers. As you can see from the graph, the students that we surveyed for this research provided very similar answers when compared to the industry average. Supervisor relationship on the far left there has a CMU student attribute importance score of 8.16, while the industry average is 8.22. This trend is represented across the entirety of all of the attributes, which tells us that the people that we surveyed for our research is very similar to the scores of the industry average. So what we have here is a graph of career performance ratios. Now what this tells us is how our respondents' answers compare to the answers of the industry average. So with a preference level, a performance ratio of 1.12, we can see that the variety of work is significantly more important to our respondents than to those of the industry average. However, since the performance ratio is less than 2, this tells us that although there is a difference between our surveyors' answers and the industry average, it's not a very significant difference.
Now, after looking at the customer experience graphs, it's clear that supervisor relationship, firm reputation, and cultural fit all rank among the highest. However, supervisor relationship ranks lower than the competitor on us versus them. However, with firm reputation and cultural fit, we actually ranked above them. But the things we are not doing well at are the onboarding process and the stress level. Those are towards the bottom of the graph, and it was clear there. And we also ranked lower than our best competitor in us versus them in those 2 categories.
Next, we're going to talk about CX important objectives. And the question we ask here, what is most important for both logistics and marketing majors when deciding on a job or internship? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take all the independent variables and we're going to see what have the most and the least influence on that dependent variable. The reason why we do this, let me give you an example. It's kind of like your significant other. Okay, you really want to find out, okay, what is he or she like? Does she like cologne? Does she like when my hair's all messy, or is it nice or combed? And does she like humor? Does she like seriousness? So you got to find out what's important, and then you got to implement that to woo them. And so that's what we're doing here with our marketing logistics internships and jobs.
Alrighty, so let's take a look at what is important to people when choosing a career in marketing and logistics. What we have here is a graph of importance scores, and how this works is the closer the importance value is to 1, the higher the correlation of that attribute. So if you see to the far right there, the stress level of 0 with a 0.01 importance score, that indicates an extremely low level of correlation when compared to the top 3 importance scores on the far left. Reputation, meaningful work, and cultural fit all have importance scores of above 0.5, which indicates a fairly high level of correlation. So from this graph, we can deduce that the most important aspects when choosing a career to marketing and logistics students is reputation, meaningful work at number 2, and third would be cultural fit. Okay, so let's take a look at the key drivers when looking at the attributes that are important to people who are looking for marketing and logistics careers. As you can see, highlighted in green, the top 3 attributes, like I mentioned before, are reputation, meaningful work, and cultural fit. Those are our key drivers. Those are the most important things that people consider when looking at jobs in the marketing and logistics field. Under that, you see the next 3 highlighted sections in orange are interesting work, atmosphere, and alignment with major. These are your second-tier key drivers. These attributes are very important to people when they're considering careers, but they're not as important as the top 3. And then at the very bottom there in red, stress level, maybe included in this would be dress code, size, possibly location, but these attributes are the least important to people when considering careers. So these are things that people really don't consider when they're looking to become a professional in the marketing and logistics world.
Next, we're looking at performance importance analysis. And what we're doing here is we're looking at all the different career characteristics, and we're deciding whether it's a significant advantage in our favor against the competitor or a significant advantage to their favor with the competitor. And what we have here is the zone of indifference, and that's 0.97 to 1.03. So you look at location, supervisor relationship, and advancement opportunity. All those different characteristics, they're so close to you can't decide. So it's kind of a tie because it's close to 1. But then you look at compensation, workload, meaningful work. That's good news for us because we win in that competitive comparison there. But then you look at the weaknesses with workplace atmosphere, after work social life, and dress code, and you see that's below 0.97, so that's where the competitors take the cake there.
After looking at the CX importance graphs and charts, it's clear that reputation, meaningful work, and cultural fit rank among the top 3 of most importance. Next to that, on the 3 after that follow, you have interesting work, the atmosphere, what's the work atmosphere like, and alignment with major. Does the career fit what you went into when you were going to college? Does it fit with your major? And the biggest thing here, the outlier, the thing of no importance whatsoever, is the stress level. And that doesn't mean much to these marketing and logistics students as they're going on to their careers. That doesn't impact them and their decision based on our results. For the CX improvement graphs, first you got to figure out, do we need to improve, yes or no? The stated improvement analysis. And this should answer that, and we're going to uncover that in our results. And then after you discover if you need to improve or not, then you'll rank what needs to be improved upon and what doesn't. And we're going to lay that out for you guys in the graphs to follow.
Next, we're going to go over the question, do we need to improve? And our graph master, Sam, is going to take you through a pie chart showing you the students that said yes, you need to improve, and no, you don't need to improve. And these results are made up of 109 CMU marketing and logistics student respondents. So take it away, Sammy.
Alrighty, so after analyzing the data from these CME marketing and logistics students, we asked one basic overarching question. Do careers in the marketing and logistics field need to improve in certain aspects? And as you can see, well over half of the people that we surveyed said yes, the careers and opportunities that are out there do need to improve on certain aspects. And so next we're going to take a look at which aspects people think are the most prioritized attributes in terms of improvement. So here we have a stated improvement analysis of the aspects that people think are most important and in the most need of improvement. So to the far left you have meaningful work. This received a improvement priority score of 18.4, which clearly indicates that it's the most important aspect of careers that people want to see changed. The next thing is compensation. People want to get paid more, or they don't feel that they are being paid adequately. The next one is workload, and then interesting work. And so as you can see, we have sort of a descending chart of the most important things that people want to see improved in their careers in logistics and marketing.
So first we asked the question, do we need to improve? And the overwhelming answer was yes. It was 59%. So then we went into, okay, what do we need to improve? So the big three answers in this were meaningful work, compensation, and workload. And that makes sense if you think about it, because if you're going into a career, you want to do something that's meaningful. You just don't want to go into a desk, a cubicle, and twiddle your thumbs the whole time. And then if first there's meaningful work, then next there's compensation. So obviously you want to get paid. If you're doing this for the rest of your business career, your professional career, then you're going to want to get paid the amount that you think you should be getting paid. And then the workload, because that's what you're going to do throughout the whole day. So you want to have a fair amount of workload, because if you have too little, then you can say, okay, I want to be more challenged. I want more. And then if you have too much, you're like, I can't do this. I need help. Now highlighting this entire presentation, why are we doing this? We have the what, the so what, and the now what. We're going to start with the what. It is, we sent a survey and then we got results. So then we analyze the results by implementing choice, maximum difference, and customer experience to understand what those results really were.
Well, so what? What's the big deal? The objectives of So What are to understand exactly what students expect and desire regarding their immediate and long-term futures when going into the careers of marketing and logistics.
Now what? So, now what? Companies can take this information, and what they can do with it, they can better understand how they can get future potential employees or future potential students to accept the offers that they give after their marketing and logistics education. And that's the big now what. And that's the whole picture covering the what, so what, and now what. All right, so to wrap this up, Coach Garber, first we started talking about marketing and logistics students' choices, and we broke down each of them, the logistics choices and the marketing choices. And then after that, we went through and we talked about the maximum difference, the best to worst. Then we finally went into the customer experience. The customer experience performance we started off with first, and that was what do they perceive that careers are performing well at, and what are they not performing well at. And then we talked about the customer experience importance. What is important to these marketing and logistics majors when they're deciding their careers? And they differentiated a little from marketing to logistics students. And finally, we talked about improvement. And it seemed pretty similar in the data of what marketing and logistics students both saw that needed improvement. There was some differences, but throughout this presentation, we provided information about it, and we hope you enjoyed. Thank you.
So Joey, what did you learn during Marketing 450?
Oh, probably shouldn't be here talking about it.
What about you, Sam?
I think we should bust out of these four walls.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
So, I mean, the question is, what did we learn during this class? The big thing is, you can't learn marketing research by just, being cooped up in a room, right?
Yeah. You got to go out. You got to get out there and do it.
Yeah, because the world's a big place, so that's where we get all this information. That's where we get the surveys. That's where we talk to people. That's where we form these relationships, and that's what we did through the whole semester. So, this is Group 6, signing off. My name is Mark White.
Joey Kelly.
And I'm Sam Smith.
And now we're, the next step of our
and go do
lives. We're going to get out and go do some research.